Hello everybody, it's Andrew from 510 Books. I am in my book and physical media store here in Southern California. I have books, music, movies, and video games, but I also sell on eBay, and I want to share in this video how, using as an example, 6 sales that I got on eBay. Today is a Friday. Between Thursday and Friday, these sales came in, and where I got the items from, how I listed them, tips and that kind of thing about how you can sell books and other media on eBay without having to have lots of money, without having to have tons of sources. I mean, you do have to have sources, but anyway, we'll dive into that stuff. So let me share with you what I sold, how much they went for, share some listings and ideas and tips about that. It's pretty simple. Obviously, there's always a learning curve with anything, but let me share it with you. So here's the 6 items that I sold. I actually had one lot or bundle. It's a video game bundle, and then I had 2 CDs, and then a DVD, a book, and then another small book lot. So let's start with the book lot over here. I'm going to talk about where I got these from and a little bit about them essentially. So this is 2 books, both by this guy, James Van Hise. One is called Pulp Masters. One is called The Fantastic Worlds of H.P. Lovecraft. They are signed by him and inscribed, both of the books, this one as well. And I sold these 2 together on eBay for $49.99 plus shipping. Now, these are part of a book consignment deal I have going on. And this is somebody that came into my store here and asked me if I was interested in buying books that he had, and we got into a conversation, and I said, well, if you have high value books, it makes more sense to sell them on eBay. Do you want to do book consignment? Long story short, we did that, and now I've already sold a decent amount of his books, and this is an example of them here. So that's one example of relationships. For me, I get a lot of stuff through my store. But of course, you don't need a store to find inventory. But I'll talk about that in a second. So that's one example there of a nice sale, $50 sale on eBay. And I sold another. This is the second one. Yesterday I sold another one from that book consignment deal. And now let's go to another book. This is a very low profit item. It sold for $9. But nonetheless, I did sell the Boomerang Clue. It's an old vintage paperback book. This actually this was a donation from a couple of years ago. So people do donate to my store, excuse me, and a lot of that stuff ends up in my physical retail store. Some of it ends up on eBay, some of it ends up on Amazon, some of it ends up on lots, some of it ends up being donated back to other places like schools or little free libraries. But anyway, I do get a lot of donations as well. And so that sold on eBay. And then this DVD, Eva Hesse is a sealed DVD that's sold for $14.19 plus shipping. This is a purchase that I made of hundreds of DVDs. This was a woman who came into my store here, and she had a couple of boxes worth. Ended up that I made multiple purchases from her. Many, if not most, of the DVDs were sealed. And I spent, on this particular lot, $75. I purchased this last year. This was last summer of 2024. But this is an example of someone coming into my store. So with or without a store, you can still let people know what you do, and you can still get deals like this. Absolutely 100%. But that's just an example of where that came from. And then let's do this one. This is a rare hardcore CD. I did not have the front artwork, but thanks to eBay, you can sell stuff like this without it being complete. If I had the front artwork, it would be worth more. Ended up selling for $20 on eBay. I took an offer. It's been up for quite a while. I got this from a large bulk buy that I made 5 years ago, which is crazy. I can't believe it's been that long. It's on what is called a Gaylord, which is a giant box that media is in, and you can find out. That's just me going out there or looking online and finding these sources. So that's one example. Or another example, and then this one. This is a signed CD from Marty Ballin. If you don't know who Marty Ballin was, He passed away in 2018, but he was one of the members of Jefferson Airplane, that famous band. And this is actually a CD of his, and there's his signature. And this sold for $69.99. Believe it or not, they came from a family member. They were getting rid of all their CDs. It took a while to sell, a little bit of time to sell, but it did. And that was a really nice sale right there. This one here came from, so these are UMD videos for PSP, but there's also some games in here, not just videos, not just movies. And there's 11 of them, and that sold for $20 plus shipping on eBay. That only took maybe like 3 days to sell. And this one came from a large video game lot that I purchased. And the reason I was able to get or make that purchase was because someone else had told me about this person who sells in large quantities. And so I went out there and made a big buy of video games, and there's stuff in there that I'm not going to sell in my store. So I put it on eBay. And that was a person that came into my store. We built a relationship, and then they said, hey, you know, if you're looking for bulk stuff, call this guy. And I did months later. So these are different examples of, or these are specific examples from me. But if you're starting out, if you've been doing this a long time, you probably already have your sources. But if you're starting out on eBay and you want to sell books, CDs, DVDs, video games, records, laser discs, all this different, VHS tapes, cassette tapes, all these different types of stuff, different types of things, it's plentiful. So it's just a matter of finding the sources. Number one, you can start with yourself, right? Look in your own house, look in your families, see if people are looking to get rid of stuff. But aside from that, you got to start telling people what you do. But what I would suggest is going to thrift stores, even though some of it may have been picked through, some of it's not. Going to garage sales, yard sales, going to estate sales, going to swap meets and flea markets. A lot of people that sell at swap meets and flea markets have purchased their items in bulk and are looking and are selling them, individually in swap meets. But you can also sometimes make those relationships and find the items. The bottom line is you got to get out there. You got to start looking for this stuff. You do not need a local business like mine. You can just tell people what you do. You can pass out business cards. You can pass out flyers. You can post on Facebook Marketplace. You can post on OfferUp. You can put things on bulletin boards. You can do there's all kinds of ways to spread the word. Here's an example of one listing for myself. This is the PSP UMD movie game lot. As you can see, I put all of that in the title. It's really important when you list on eBay to put keywords in the title. So other keywords here are PSP, UMD, movie and game. Of course, lot is a keyword. And then what I did is I listed some of the names of the movies as well as some of the videos. But people are going to look for PSP, UMD lots, game and movie lots, and they will find it. But the more keywords, the better. And I took an offer. I had it listed for $29.99, and I took an offer of $20. I strongly recommend taking offers on eBay so that each item you list or lot you list, bundle, that you make sure and select the option to allow offers to be made. Because if you don't, you're going to have to wait for the perfect person to come along and buy your item for the exact price that you want. Whereas if you leave plenty of profit in there and you list it and you take offers, people will come along, and some will make reasonable offers, some won't. It's up to you. You can also, I mean, it's up to them, but then you can also, it's up to you whether you're going to accept it or not. You can counter offer, and you can sell a lot of items that way. So that's a big tip or recommendation on my part. Here is the listing for that Marty Ballin signed CD, and some of the keywords signed. Number one is the first word. I recommend doing that. Of course, Marty Ballin's name, of course, that it's a CD, what year it's from. I put JB Records, which is the, what is it called? The company behind it, the CD on it. And then I put a bunch of keywords like rock, like AOR, compilation, Jefferson Airplane, that might get people's attention. Because if someone's looking for Marty Ballin CDs, they might be searching Jefferson Airplane as well. This one happened to sell for the price that I was asking, $69.99. But I was taking offers, but somebody wanted it. It was pretty rare. and they purchased it for the full price, which is great, which I'm happy with. So those are some examples of the listings. Also, it's really important to take quality photos. What I mean by that is that you have a bright light source, that I photograph against a white background. You don't have to, but it's recommended by eBay, and I recommend it. It's worked well for me. Take as many, what do you call it, photos as necessary. Like for CDs, you take the front and the back. I take the spine, and then I take inside of the disc. If something's sealed, you can't open it, obviously, so you can only take photos of the outside. Books are similar, but of course I open up the book, take pictures inside, especially the title page, the copyright page. If there's any drawings, illustrations, photos in there, I'll take pictures of some of those. If there's any damage to anything, take those photos. Lots, it's the same thing. Just make sure you get a photo of everything. Yeah, so that's important, is to take those photos. Make sure you fill in all of the necessary information, like the description and all the keywords and all of the the item specifics. Make sure you put as many of the item specifics as you can. There's required ones, and then there's additional, which are optional. I would fill out a good amount of these optional ones. Obviously, I need to put more here, but that's an example, right? Make sure you put the condition here, the description. Here's an example of my description, but you can write what you want in there, but you do want to obviously state what it is, the condition, that kind of thing. Price, and the weight, whether or not you're taking offers. And there's even something down here which I want to end on, which is called promoting your listing. This one is ridiculous. This is a very old item I'm trying to sell, but generally I only promote things between 2 and 5%. Basically what that means is you are paying eBay 2 to 5% of the ultimate sale price, of the sale price of the item when it sells, in order to get more exposure for that item, for it to sell quicker. Not everybody does it, but I highly recommend it. About half of my sales come from promoted listings. So even though something is promoted, it doesn't always sell on the promoted listing. Sometimes it sells on the non-promoted listing. But let's not get too much in the weeds with that, but I recommend that as well. So take offers, promote your items, put your vital keywords, fill out all of the necessary information, take good photos, all that stuff, and you should sell. Also, lastly, just to end on this note, you obviously have to do your research on items. You don't list just anything. You don't take anything and say, oh, look, the Titanic DVD, I'm going to list that. I would not list that on eBay. But you got to do research. You got to look on eBay. What is selling? How much is it selling? So how much is an item selling for? How much competition is there? And then when you have an account on eBay, on your app, you can look up on your computer too, but on your app you can select sold, and it'll show you how many of that item has sold in the last 90 days, which is a good idea to do that, to get an idea of how often it's selling. If there's 100 listings and in the last 90 days 70 have sold, that's a great sell-through rate. If there's 100 listings and only 10 have sold, that's a pretty bad sell-through rate. You want to, higher percentage over 90 days of your item that you're listing selling is better. If you find something, there's only 2 listings, and it's a high-priced item, it's going for like $80, $100, whatever, and there's 2 other listings, or there's 1, or sometimes there's none, then it's probably, it could be a good idea to list it, because the prices are generally higher. If there's no sales in the last 90 days, you just got to do a little more research. It's not necessarily mean that it's worth it. That it's not worth it. Again, I can make a whole video about this stuff, but this is just kind of touching the surface of it. So hopefully this helps. Let me know. I'll see you in the next video.